The rain began before sunset. By the time John Jungkook stepped out of the taxi, the sky above Seoul had turned the color of wet charcoal. Thunder rumbled somewhere far away. The driver unloaded the final cardboard box onto the sidewalk and quickly climbed back into his car. "Good luck, kid," he muttered. Jungkook frowned. The words sounded strangely ominous. Before he could reply, the taxi disappeared into the rain. For a moment he stood alone. In front of him towered an old apartment building. The structure looked completely out of place among the modern glass towers surrounding it. Everything about it felt frozen in another era. Dark brick walls, iron balconies, Hanul apartments. Established in 1973, Jungkook shifted the strap of his backpack and stared upward. Inside, the lobby was unexpectedly beautiful. Golden chandeliers glowed overhead. Old paintings decorated the walls. The scent of old books lingered in the air. Jungkook found himself smiling. Maybe this place wasn't so bad after all. Still, the rent was cheap. And after losing his previous apartment, Jungkook didn't have many options. A voice suddenly interrupted his thoughts. "John Jungkook?" The old landlord greeted him in the lobby. He was a thin man with silver hair and tired eyes. Despite his gentle appearance, something about his eyes seemed uneasy. "That's me." The man nodded. "Welcome. Apartment 804." He handed over a thick key ring. "No electronic locks here." Jungkook chuckled. "I noticed." The old man didn't laugh. Instead, his expression became strangely serious. He pointed toward the elevators. "Use the left one. The right elevator hasn't worked properly in years." Jungkook followed his gaze. Two vintage elevators stood at the end of the lobby. Both looked incredibly old. Something about them reminded Jungkook of scenes from classic horror movies. They reached the elevator. It was a relic, a heavy brass and iron cage with a sliding inner gate that looked like it belonged in a black and white film. Above the door, a mechanical arrow pointed to numbers painted directly onto the wall. Mr. Kang pulled the gate open with a metallic screech that made Jungkook's molars ache. "Get in." Jungkook stepped into the small car. He reached out to press the button for the eighth floor, but his hand froze midair. The vertical column of black plastic buttons was ordinary until his eyes tracked up past the middle. "Four, 5, 6, 8." He blinked, his thumb hovering over the empty, smooth space where the number 7 should have been. It wasn't just missing a plastic cap, there was no hole. The metal plating was solid, a blank expanse of brushed steel between 6 and 8. "Mr. Kang?" Jungkook asked, his voice sounding thin in the cramped car. "Where is the seventh floor?" The old man didn't look up from his key ring. His fingers, knobby and spotted with age, suddenly tightened around the brass loops. The pleasant, mundane air of a landlord showing a new tenant around vanished, replaced by an abrupt, freezing stillness. "Sealed," Mr. Kang said. His voice dropped an octave, losing its raspy edge and turning hard. "Sealed? Like under renovation?" "Sealed like it doesn't exist," Mr. Kang countered, finally raising his eyes. They were milky with cataracts, but sharp enough to pierce. "A fire, decades ago." The city building inspector said it was safer to wall off the stairwells and skip the landing on the elevator cable than to tear the whole structure down. The fire damage was too deep. Jungkook nodded slowly, his fingers finally settling on the number 8. "Must have been a bad fire." Mr. Kang stepped back out onto the lobby floor, his hand resting on the iron gate. "If the elevator ever stops between those floors, Johnsy, if the cable slips or the power grid drops and the car catches on the old safety teeth, do not look out of the gate. Do not try to pry the doors. You sit on your bag, you cover your eyes, and you wait for me to crank the manual winch from the basement. Do you understand? Yeah, sure, I understand. Good. Mr. Kang slammed the gate shut. Jungkook stepped out into the hallway of floor 8, but his mind stayed down in the dark, wondering about the space between 6 and 8, where air felt cold and the world smelled like old ash. He couldn't shake the feeling that something had just noticed him and was waiting patiently for him to come back. 3 weeks passed, and Jungkook learned the rhythms of the Jimseong apartments. He learned that the woman in 802 cried every Thursday at 9 p.m. while watching old dramas, and the man in 801 burned fish at least twice a week. He learned that if he didn't hold the shower handle exactly 45 degrees to the left, the water would scald him. But mostly, he learned to paint again. His apartment was small, just a single room, with a linoleum floor that was peeling at the corners and a large window facing north. He spent his days covering canvases with dark abstract strokes of oil paint, trying to capture the way the city looked when the smog settled over the Han River. It was a Tuesday night when the storm arrived. The worst storm Jungkook had ever seen. Thunder shook the city. Lightning split the sky into jagged white wounds. Rain hammered against every window in the building. At 12:13 a.m., the power flickered. Once, twice. Then darkness swallowed everything. Jungkook cursed softly. The emergency lights activated moments later. His phone battery was dead. Wonderful. He decided to go downstairs. The elevator doors opened surprisingly fast. The cabin glowed red beneath emergency lighting. Everything looked distorted, unreal. Jungkook stepped inside. The doors closed. The elevator descended. 8, 6. Suddenly, bang. The cabin jerked violently. The lights exploded into static. The elevator stopped. Dead silent. Jungkook's pulse quickened. Then he noticed the floor indicator. The digital display glitched. Numbers flashed rapidly. And finally, a blood red 7. Jungkook froze. The landlord's warning echoed inside his mind. Do not look outside. The elevator gave a soft ding. The door slowly opened. Warm light spilled inside. Golden, gentle, nothing terrifying, nothing monstrous. Just a hallway. A beautiful hallway. Dim lamps glowed along floral wallpaper. The scent of rain drifted through the air. Old books, coffee, dust, memories. The atmosphere felt strangely alive, like stepping into another decade. Jungkook stared, unable to move. Then he saw him. A boy stood at the far end of the hallway, holding a yellow cassette player. Dark hair, soft eyes, oversized cream sweater. The most beautiful person Jungkook had ever seen. The boy looked up and smiled. Hey, Jungkook's breath caught. The stranger tilted his head. You must be the new tenant. For a moment, the entire world narrowed to those warm eyes. The stranger tilted his head. Are you okay? Jungkook finally found his voice. I. Nothing else came out. The stranger smiled again. You look like you've seen a ghost. A sudden burst of thunder shook the hallway. The lights flickered. For the briefest second, the beautiful corridor vanished. Jungkook saw blackened walls, burned wood, charred ceilings, ash. Then everything returned. Golden lamps, paintings, warm light. The stranger didn't seem to notice, as if the horrifying image had appeared only to Jungkook. A chill ran through him. The young man frowned. That storm is getting worse. He glanced toward the elevator. Honestly, the electricity's been acting weird all night. Jungkook stared. Electricity. Storm. As if this was all completely normal. As if he were simply talking about a rainy evening. The stranger offered a hand. His smile was bright, friendly, human. My name's Taehyung. The world seemed to stop again. Taehyung. Jungkook knew that name because 3 hours earlier he had read it in a newspaper archive. Kim Taehyung, art student, age 21, died in a fire, October 1995. Jungkook's blood turned cold, yet the hand remained extended, waiting, warm, alive. Slowly, almost unconsciously, Jungkook reached forward. Their fingers touched. The moment skin met skin, a powerful jolt shot through both of them. Taehyung's eyes widened. Jungkook's breath caught. For a fraction of a second, images flashed through his mind. Fire, smoke, screaming, paintings burning, a young man pounding on a locked door, and a voice crying for help. Then everything vanished. Both of them stumbled backward. Taehyung looked shaken, confused. What was that? Jungkook couldn't answer because he didn't know. The elevator suddenly chimed behind him. The doors were closing. Fast, too fast. No. Jungkook turned. The gap was shrinking. Taehyung looked alarmed. Wait. Jungkook ran. The door slammed shut just as he reached them. Darkness swallowed him. The elevator dropped violently. His stomach lurched. The lights flickered. The smell of smoke vanished. The warmth disappeared. Everything spun. Then, ding, the doors opened. Floor 8. The real hallway. Silent, empty. The storm still raged outside. Jungkook stumbled into the corridor. Hello everyone. I'm so happy to see you all again after such a long time. Thank you for waiting patiently and continuing to support me. I know many of you are probably confused about what is really happening on the seventh floor, and you may have a lot of questions right now. Don't worry, everything will be revealed very soon. The story is about to become even more emotional, mysterious, and exciting, and there are still many secrets waiting to be uncovered. I'm very excited for you to experience the upcoming chapters. Also, please let me know in the comments below which part of the story did you like the most so far? What do you think is really happening on the seventh floor? Your comments mean a lot to me and motivate me to keep writing. I read every single one of them and I love hearing your theories and reactions.